our city's at-large counselors, and I apologize for my casual state of dress as I was out today in the community observing like we've asked so many of our community members to do. Because one of the things that I know as an Indigenous person is I have a lot of friends and relatives in the Minnesota and Minneapolis area. And so what they have seen is detention of our very own Indigenous community members. And so when we were notified that we would have ICE operations here in Portland, one of the most important things to me was to be out in the community with our neighbors, with our relatives, watching and observing, and really trying to reinforce with everyone, because this is not day-to-day business for us, is to observe, to show up for your community, to make sure that everyone understands that really immigrants are what make Portland just such an incredible place to be. And what we're not only going to see the social impact and what we all feel when these operations are happening in our neighborhoods, in front of our schools, in front of our grocery stores, is we're also going to see an economic impact. These are now families that will have potentially the primary breadwinner in their household has been disappeared, so how are they going to make rent? So we have the potential for an increase of evictions. We're seeing impacts to our schools for all of these members who are teachers, who are students, who are working in the cafeteria or working as bus drivers. If they're not available, our schools are now shorthanded. We're seeing that, with businesses around the city. If these people are being disappeared, there's also a gap. And so these are just such critical members of our community. If we saw that this immigration enforcement was consistent, was following the law with this administration, I don't think any of us would have the level of anxiety that we're having right now. And so, again, I apologize that I am a little casual today, but it's because I believe if you're going to be of the community, you need to be out in the community and having eyes on. And so, as Councilor Ali mentioned, there are networks that have been set up for communities to stay in communication with each other, to make sure they're checking up on each other, observing, recording, so that we have this information to be able to provide back to any of the legal entities if we do see that operations are not being carried out as they're supposed to be according to law. But I'm so proud here to stand with this council and with our mayor and with all of our city staff and our school staff and our school administration to continue to keep Portland operating and being the place that we know that it is, despite what's happening right in this moment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor. I'd also call Councilor Sarah McNevich, who represents probably the most diverse district in the city.
Thank you, Mayor. That's Sarah McNevich, District 1, SARAH, MICHNIEWICZ. As the mayor said, this is the most diverse district in the city and the state. We have a large immigrant population that continues to grow and thrive and bring value and vitality and economic benefit and life to this city. It's our responsibility to stand up for the communities that make our city what it is. We have a tremendous opportunity here to look out for them, to stand up, to record, to monitor what's going on lawfully, legally. As my colleagues have alluded to, there are legitimate reasons for immigration enforcement. It's the methods that are being employed and the broadcast approach that is so objectionable to so many. There's no legitimate purpose that's being pursued that cannot be achieved through due process. And I think that's the sticking point for a lot of us. I would encourage everyone to pay attention to what's going on around you, to look out for your neighbors, to know your rights, to know your responsibilities, and to know your resources, to know where to turn when you want to either report something or to share information or to assist other people, whether they be walking to school or just looking to have groceries to survive day to day in their homes. That's our strongest asset in Portland, is our sense of community and our sense of pride and our sense of knowing what is right. And that's what this council stands for. That's what I stand for. It's what the mayor stands for. And I know that's what the vast majority of our citizens stand for, and what we will continue to support and continue to act on, no matter what comes forward in the coming days. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Last but not least, Counselor Phillips.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Regina Phillips, Regina Phillips. I represent District 3. You know, as I sit here with my colleagues, there isn't anything new that I can say to you other than with this, you know, I don't know if there's warrants out there or, you know, whatever. All I know is what I hear is that some folks are just being detained just because, right? We're very similar to Minnesota. They're just being detained because they are. My concern is with the children that are being left behind. We have families that are people, men and women, mothers and fathers that are literally being dragged away from their children is what I hear. And, you know, if you have a child that is either in the grocery store or at home with their parent, they don't know how to use a cell phone. They don't know how to get in touch with their other parent. They don't know how to get in touch with a relative. And as we know, ICE is not coordinating with anybody. They're not coordinating with either police department. They're not coordinating with the Department of Health and Human Services to make sure these children are safe. And so we have to mobilize because there are kids out there that are literally being dragged away from their parents. And that's the most concerning to me, is what is actually happening to those children where their parents are being taken away literally at the gas station or the grocery store or at schools because they just don't have the means and the ability to reach out to their relatives and say, hey, I'm stuck, I'm here by myself. And then where do they go? Where do they go? Because we know our foster care system is completely and utterly is overwhelmed. And so that's the concerning thing. If you have a warrant, if you want to detain somebody, like the mayor says, there's probably not much we can do about that, but do it in a manner where children are not left by themselves. That's just cruel.
Thank you, Counselor. Superintendent? Chair? No, both of you. Listen, one part that can be left behind is when a city is going through this type of journey. And you heard it at the beginning of the conversation through Counselor Phillips. It's just not about what's occurring to the adults. The kids are there. And the kids suffer along with us or celebrate along with us or made anxious because they don't understand what adults are actually trying to do. So one of the first persons that called me the morning that we knew ICE was in the city was Superintendent Scallon. So we protect our constituents. They protect our families, and the most important thing that we all agree on, our kids. So I'd like to defer the podium to the chair, Sarah Lenz, and I'll stand with the counselors. So if you have any questions that are geared to families in the schools, they're here to respond to that. Madam Chair.
Thank you. I'm Sarah Lentz, S-A-R-A-H, last name L-E-N-T-Z, and I'm chair of the board here in Portland. I told a reporter this morning a story about my own child who, when I picked him up from school, said to me, first off, he said, today my teacher told me there was ice on the playground and we needed to be careful. And I thought that there were people there to get me and my friends. That level of worry and anxiety is what all of our children are carrying as they go into the classroom. And we know that learning doesn't happen when kids are hungry, when they are scared, and when they don't feel safe. And what is happening in our community right now is making our community not feel safe. And that is not okay. As so many counselors have said today, there are other ways to do this. There are other ways that don't impact our kids and their families in the ways that they are feeling impacted right now. And I just want to say thank you to all of the community members, the individuals, and the organizations that are literally working around the clock right now to make sure that our kids have food in their house, that they can get to work or to the bus stop, that they can be connected to legal services and other resources that they need because they are fearful of coming out of their house. These are the impacts that we're seeing on a daily basis. Our attendance rates are way down. Kids are not coming to school and their families are holding in their houses. So that's where we are. And that's where we're gonna stay, and we're gonna hold the line and do whatever we can as educators and community members to make sure that our schools are safe and predictable spaces for everyone that are there. Yeah.
At this point, are you aware of any students, staff, or family members of students who've been detained by ICE in the last few days?
I can confirm that there have been people detained, but that's as much as I'm going to share.
Give us a number, how much is the attendance down, and what percentage of the student population is minority or immigrants?
Yeah, so I'm happy to give a little bit of background, and then I'll ask Superintendent to give specific numbers on attendance. But in the Portland Public Schools, we have 53% or 52% students of color in our district. About a third of our students are multilingual learners. And we also have about 500 students who are currently housing insecure. So those are just some of the statistics of our students right now, but I'm happy to turn it over to the superintendent who can talk more about attendance.
Good afternoon. Ryan Scallon, R-Y-A-N, S-C-A-L-L-O-N. Attendance varies significantly as the impact is not even across our school community. So as Chair Lentz just shared, we are about 52-53% students of color, and we see a range of attendance impacts. Our overall attendance is down more than 5 percentage points, but we have some schools where the attendance drop is closer to 15 to 20% down. And so there's a wide range of how it's been impacting.
Are there any measures being taken to make remote learning available? Any plans in the works to have entire schools go remote if need be?
So we know from the research coming out of COVID, as well as what we see happening in schools, that the safest, best place for students to learn for social reasons, for physical reasons, for academic reasons, are in person. So as much as possible, we are planning to maintain in-person learning. The last 2 days I've been in our schools and have seen that they continue to make sure that it's a safe, welcoming place for all of our students. And so as much as possible, we want that to be. It would also not be prudent if we weren't planning for the range of contingencies. And so leadership in our district, including our school leaders, have engaged and have done some planning around the potential for an online piece, but at this point, our intent is to remain in person.
So I haven't heard anything about this, but just want to confirm with you. Have you had any confirmed sightings of ICE agents on or near Portland Public School campuses?
So we have not had any sightings or reports of agents on our property around schools. Obviously, there is a lot of information going on around ICE action, and obviously we are a small city and with schools throughout the city. And so there's nothing that is in the immediate vicinity, but certainly in the neighborhood.
If there's nothing else, we can all say goodnight. Thank you.